First off, I'd like to preface this with the fact that this is an account of my own personal encounter with whatever the hell this was about 2 years ago on Halloween. Secondly, enjoy the story for me, would you? To set the scene, this was Halloween 2022. Myself, my sister N, her boyfriend D, and my brother A all decided it'd be a fun time going to a cemetery late that night. At around 10:30 p.m., all of us come to the consensus of what to do that night, and after some convincing, we all pile into the truck to buy some cheap flashlights at the local Fred Meyer grocery store. 10:50 p.m., we make it out of the store just before closing, piling back into the truck to make our way up the hill into the western Washington wilderness. 11:10 p.m., after roughly 20 minutes of journeying into the wilderness, keep in mind there weren't any streetlights out there, we made it into the cemetery itself. It was a large, relatively modern-looking plot. Everything seemed safe. No security, no houses around, no cops. Roughly 11:15 p.m. The gang, after grabbing their respective flashlights and coats, decided to scale the cement wall about chest-high just left of the main gate. Upon arrival, A, being a skeptic as usual, is confident and walks on ahead. N, D, and I are more so believers, so we stay close together and walk near a quarter mile up the asphalt trail. At 11:20, the gang reaches a tall oak tree and comes to a stop. I, being curious of what pictures I've captured so far, open up my phone and check the photos for whatever I may find, when D speaks up and says he needs to use the restroom, so he decides to walk back to the car. Ann and I acknowledge this request and watch as D walks down the trail closer and closer to the faint ridgeline. At this point, D walks out from behind the oak tree to the left of us. The shadow of what we thought was D then fades away. 11:25. After some bickering between N, D, and I, we come up with the consensus that whatever N and I saw was not D. D also maintains to this day that N and I stood for nearly about 20 minutes staring at my phone without saying a word to him, when for us it was maybe a minute before he returned. I then returned to look at the pictures on my phone in which I spot a darker than normal mass on one of the 10 or so photos. 11:30. A returns to the group and makes the same claim as D. He too stands by this while N and I are adamant of the opposite. We then decide to push on, doing our best to brush this off as some kind of misunderstanding. 11:35. We come across a strange, corroded-looking headstone with a lone candle lit under it. At this moment in time, all of my hair stood on end. And of course, speak of the devil, some horror movie-esque whistling starts radiating from the direction of the grave. Not even a minute later, while everyone is distracted by different sounds from all around us, I spot a twisted, gray, humanoid-looking thing crawl from out behind the grave and lunge toward us as the lone candle blows out. Of course, I immediately thought of danger, regardless of it being a spooky spirit or a crackhead, and started sprinting full tilt towards the entrance with the only light around. At approximately 11:37 p.m., we're nearly to the entrance when security rolls up. They shine a light up onto the ridge, nearly spotting us. I make a split-second decision and decide to cut right towards the bathroom, and I chose correctly. There was an unlocked service gate behind the bathrooms that we casually walked out of and walked across the street from. 11:40 p.m. We reached the parking turnaround that the truck was sitting in. The security parked alongside the truck. Thinking quickly, I apologized for parking in front of the cemetery and explained we were just visiting someone further up the road. We couldn't park roadside because the road was too narrow with no lights. He said we were free to go and that he got a call about some kids in the cemetery. As we were all hopping in the truck, the guard caught wind of some rustling on the property itself and went to go check it out. We, of course, took that as our cue to hightail it out of there. 11:50 p.m. A, of course, has his headphones in, minding his own business, while N and D bicker back and forth about what actually happened. At this point, I'm focusing on driving while anxious, when in my left ear I hear a soft whistling. The same whistling from the woods. Keep in mind, this is a well-populated freeway, and it still stood out enough to make me swerve onto the rumble strip. 12 a.m. We make it home. I decided to relay what I saw at the grave. N is in shock, D gave an "oh hell no," and of course A said it was most likely a crackhead. We ended up talking another half an hour before N and D decided to go to sleep. Around 1:30 a.m., A was sitting on the couch playing Clash Royale on his phone, and I got the urge to use the restroom. As I was on the toilet, again I heard the same whistling as if it were in the room with me. Of course I finished up ASAP, and after nearly falling off the damn toilet, I immediately rushed out of the bathroom. A took no notice, and of course wouldn't believe me anyways. 1:35 a.m. After contemplating upon what just happened while I was trying to enjoy myself on the toilet, I walked up to the sliding glass door and spotted it. A singular deer in the pouring rain, staring up at me on the 5th floor. My hair once again stood on end, and the thought practically threw itself to the forefront of my mind. Skinwalker. I immediately pulled up the cemetery on Google while locking the sliding door. Sure enough, the cemetery up until World War II was a native burial ground. After said incident, the rest of the night faded to morning without any problem. However, this wouldn't be the end of whatever the hell that thing was. For nearly 2 months afterward, I'd hear whistling in my ear whenever I'd take the 2 dogs out for walks. Each time I'd do my best to muster up a strong facade and tell it to fuck off because you can't have me. Eventually, I believe the creature either got bored of me or realized I'd put up too much of a fight, because it seemingly stopped following me. Since then, I've had one questionable incident, but I could easily explain this away as coincidence. As an angsty teen, I was fascinated with skinwalkers and other urban legends like the Wendigo. Nothing, however, could have prepared me for the evil that radiated off that thing. An apex predator becoming the prey in a matter of seconds. That's what it felt like. Confidence to practically shitting bricks.
If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. And remember, watch your back. Toodaloo.